When a millionaire saw the cleaning lady guarding his daughter, he discovered the shocking truth. The mansion stood tall against the evening sky, its windows glimmering like watchful eyes. This was no ordinary home, it was a fortress of wealth, power, and secrets. Inside, laughter echoed, but outside, a sense of foreboding loomed. The air was thick with tension, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. It was here that Marcus Steele, the billionaire and owner of a billion-dollar tech empire, would experience a night that would change everything. As he entered the grand hall, he spotted her, the cleaning lady, a seemingly inconspicuous figure in her dull uniform. Her name was Rosa, and yet she carried an aura that sparked curiosity. She moved with an unexpected grace, her eyes darting, alert, as if she could hear every whisper of the house. What was she guarding? Then, it happened. A sudden commotion erupted from the playroom. Marcus's heart raced. His daughter, Lily, was having a tea party with her friends. But Rosa stood watch by the door, her stance tense, her body a barrier between the giggling girls and the world outside. Something felt wrong. The colorful cupcakes on the table, their icing glowed eerily in the dim light, casting shadows that danced on the walls. Why isn't she letting anyone in? He thought, a knot tightening in his stomach. Marcus felt the need to know, he had to know. Sweat prickled at his temples, and he stepped forward. The girls giggled, but Rosa silenced them with a glance. Nothing could distract her from her duty. A whisper spread through the room, stifling laughter. Who does she think she is? One of the little girls whispered in disapproval. But the seriousness in Rosa's eyes silenced the room. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Marcus leaned in closer, his heart pounding, his breath shallow. What was she protecting? Was it just children playing, or something darker? Suddenly, the room fell silent as Rosa turned, her eyes locking onto Marcus with fierce intensity. They can't go in there, she warned, her voice low, almost trembling with urgency. You don't understand. Her words hung in the air like a warning bell. Was there a hidden danger lurking behind that innocent door? A shadow? A threat? The tension crackled like static electricity as Marcus realized he was staring at a woman who was more than what she seemed. What shocking truth did she know? As he contemplated her words, the very essence of the mansion shifted. Everything felt precarious, like standing on the edge of a cliff. As Marcus's mind raced, the lights flickered ominously, casting erratic shadows across the room. What secrets lay hidden? What danger awaited? His thoughts whirled, and he felt that familiar knot in his chest tightening all over again. The night was far from over. What awaited him beyond that door, and what would he discover about Rosa that would shake the very foundation of his world? The air was thick with mystery and he was determined to find the answers. Marcus stared at Rosa, the weight of her warning pressing down on him like a tangible force. What don't I understand? He asked, trying to soften his voice, though anger and fear danced in his eyes. The room seemed to shrink, walls closing in as he awaited her answer, held captive by intrigue and dread. Rosa took a deep breath, her gaze flickering to the door that separated them from the giggling girls within. It's not safe, Marcus. They can't know. The urgency in her voice made him shiver. The girls behind her giggled again, blissfully unaware. But to Marcus, that laughter felt like a cruel mockery of the truth lurking just beyond. Suddenly, the lights buzzed, and the room fell into darkness, only for a split second. When the lights returned, Rosa's expression had turned grave, eyes glazed with something deeper than mere concern. Defiance? Guilt? He couldn't decipher it. "I have to get in there," Marcus said, determination fueling his next move. Disregarding her warning, he pushed past her, determined to uncover whatever threat could possibly endanger his daughter. He felt her hand grip his arm, firm yet trembling. "Please, don't. You have no idea what you're walking into," she implored, panic rising like bile in her throat. Her grip reminded him of steel, a mix of desperation and something darker. "Step aside," he barked, his heart racing, thoughts scattering like leaves in a storm. The unseen weight of the mansion pressed against him, and an instinctive fear jolted through him. What was truly hiding behind that door? With a final surge of resistance, Rosa stepped aside, her eyes welling with emotion as Marcus pushed through the doorway into the playroom. Once inside, a peculiar stillness enveloped him. The space was decorated with pastel colors that seemed cheerful and innocent in this strange atmosphere. But everything felt wrong. The cupcakes sat untouched, their icing now dim and dull. Lily and her friends were frozen in place, staring wide-eyed at something behind the canopy of pink curtains. "Lily!" Marcus shouted urgently, rushing to her side. She blinked, seemingly coming out of a trance. A small doll lay in the center of the floor, a ragged thing with frayed hair, its button eyes sparkling ominously in the faint light. "Daddy, we were just playing." Lily's voice was softer than he'd ever heard it, and he sensed the fear she was masking. "Playing?" Marcus's heart sank. What was so captivating about that broken doll? Just then, Rosa appeared in the doorway, her breath hitching as she took in the scene. "Don't touch it," she warned, her voice sharp, cutting through the tension. "Why?" Marcus demanded, his eyes darting between Rosa and the doll, as if the world had spun off its axis. What lay within that innocent facade? A curse? A malignancy? Rosa stepped forward, fear etched on her face. "It's not just a doll. It has a history." She paused, swallowing hard, as if the next words would shatter whatever tenuous foundation they stood upon. "It once belonged to the last family who lived here. They went missing." A chill swept through the room, and Marcus could feel the air grow heavier. "Missing?" "Yes," she replied, her voice trembling but firm. "And it said whoever touches it can disturb the spirits, awaken something darker." Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but Marcus felt rooted to the spot. The sense of danger prickled at the back of his mind, the whispers of stolen lives echoing around him. He looked at Lily, her small hand inching toward the doll, then back at Rosa. "What did you mean when you said they can't know?" Rosa hesitated. "If Lily touches it, it's too late to turn back." Across the room, Lily's finger brushed against the doll. A laughter erupted, joyous and chilling. Suddenly everything felt unreal, cold dread enveloping Marcus. He lunged forward, adrenaline pumping through him. "Lily, no." As his hand grasped her wrist, the world exploded into chaos. The children's laughter turned sharp, disembodied voices ringing through the air, and darkness gripped him. What had he unleashed? What truths would be forced into the light? The night was only beginning, and so was the terrifying descent into a past that refused to be forgotten. The moment Marcus's fingers wrapped around Lily's wrist, the playroom spiraled into pandemonium. The world around him spun, colors blurring as shadows twisted and twisted, reaching out like grasping hands. Rosa's voice became a faint echo, lost amidst the high-pitched laughter that transformed into a cacophony of wails. "Lily, hang on to me," he shouted, every ounce of his being focused on pulling her back from the brink. He fought against an unseen force, as if the darkness itself was alive, drawing them into its depths. The doll, once a mere trinket, now seemed to vibrate with a sinister energy. Its button eyes glowed brighter, casting an eerie light that flickered against the pastel walls. Marcus felt the urge to scream, to flee, and yet he was anchored, desperate to protect his daughter from whatever supernatural horror lurked here. "Lily, we have to go," Marcus pleaded, yanking her toward him, but the girl stood frozen in place, entranced by the doll and its unsettling allure. "Daddy, I can hear them, they want to play," she whispered, wide-eyed and oblivious to the danger. "No. They want to trap you." His chest tightened, and panic surged through him like electricity. He could sense the shifting shadows closing in, insistent and hungry. In the corner of his eye, Rosa staggered backward, her face pale, tears rustling down like fragile raindrops. "You don't understand. It's not just any spirit, it's vengeance wrapped in that doll." Her words echoed in Marcus's mind, merging with the chaotic sound surrounding them. What was this vengeance? Was it retribution against the living? With a surge of courage, he thrust his body between Lily and the doll, shielding her from whatever dark enchantment it wielded. "You can't have her," he roared, a primal instinct igniting inside him. He could feel the collective energy of the room vibrating, growing heavier, saturated with anguish. As he stood firm, the laughter faded to whispers, like a chilling call echoing through a vast emptiness. Shapes darted in the corners of his vision, fleeting, but his focus remained on Lily. "Please, Daddy, I want to stay," she whimpered, reaching toward the doll, her innocent desire a knife twisting in Marcus's gut. "No, Lily. This isn't a game." He stepped closer, his heart racing, a storm of conflicting emotions coursing through him. With each step, the air around him grew colder, heavier, each breath feeling like a fight against an impending storm. Rosa's voice shook him from his thoughts. "You have to destroy it. It's the only way." Her eyes were wild with fear, panic coursing through her like a wild river on the brink of overflowing. Destroy it? But how? Marcus felt desperation clawing at him, but deep down, he knew he would do anything to keep his daughter safe. Just as the words escaped his lips, Lily's fingers finally made contact with the doll, and the room erupted into frantic screams. Colors lit up like fireworks, bright and chaotic, swallowing them whole. Marcus felt the ground tremble, as if the mansion itself was awakening from a forgotten slumber. The shadows lunged forward, enveloping them in swirling darkness. The air turned electric, charged with something not of this world. "Hold on tight," he screamed, as everything began to spin, a vortex of light and shadow tugging them away from reality. But in that swirling chaos, he heard a faint voice slicing through the commotion, barely audible. Help us, free us. What had he gotten them into? What awful truths waited on the other side of this madness? As the darkness closed in, Marcus clung to Lily, willing himself to fight against whatever force sought to consume them. The night was not just beginning, it was tearing wide open a chasm of secrets, echoing promises of pain yet to come. The whirlwind of colors and sounds swirled around Marcus like a tempest, pulling his senses apart. Light and dark collided in a dazzling display of terror, and he felt himself being drawn into the core of an ancient curse, its very essence thrumming against his soul. He squeezed Lily's wrist tighter, desperate to anchor them both in place. "Lily! Don't let go!" he shouted, but her gaze remained glued to the doll, her face painted with wonder and fear. She took a tentative step forward, oblivious to the madness erupting around them. "Daddy, please, they're sad," she whispered, her voice a delicate thread that almost pulled his heart to shreds. "No. They're dangerous." The urgency in his voice seemed to fade in the face of the doll's hypnotic glow. Each flicker of light from its eyes felt like a pull of gravity, beckoning more strongly with every heartbeat. As the shadows danced closer, they morphed into grotesque shapes that twisted and shrieked, as if they were lost souls crying out for release. Marcus felt a shiver crawl down his spine. "What do you want?" he yelled into the chaos, unknowing if the question was for the doll, the darkness, or himself. Suddenly, he caught sight of Rosa, her figure flickering in and out, caught in a whirlwind of fear. She was trying to fight her way through the haze, reaching for them with outstretched arms. "Get out! You have to get out!" she screamed, her voice strained like the fabric of reality itself. In that moment, panic surged anew within him. He began to pull Lily back, dragging her unwilling body away from the allure of the doll. I'll explain later. Just trust me. But it was too late. With a heart-wrenching gasp, Lily broke free of his grasp, her tiny fingers stretching toward the doll like a moth to flame. The shadows lunged forward, engulfing them in darkness. Marcus felt his insides twist, a potent mix of dread and thrill coursing through his veins. "Don't. Please!" he cried, but it fell on deaf ears, swallowed by the roar of otherworldly laughter that echoed off the walls. The flashes became blinding, and for a moment, he thought he was losing her forever, sinking into a deeper hell without her. No, no, no. He lunged again, arms outstretched, desperate to reclaim the brightness that was slipping away. Just as his fingers brushed against her shoulder, a strangled cry erupted from his throat, and the world fell away, replaced by darkness, then, silence. An oppressive void surrounded them, as if the universe had taken a breath and forgotten how to exhale. Marcus could feel the weight of dread press upon him, wrapping around his chest like a vice. He opened his mouth to call for Lily, but his voice vanished into echoing nothingness. After what felt like hours, a sliver of light broke through the gloom in the distance. "Lily!" he shouted, a stark desperation threading through every syllable. He stumbled forward, the shadows lingering just past the edges of the light, whispering unintelligible secrets he dared not know. "Daddy, help!" Her voice floated toward him, fragile yet fierce, pulling him through the darkness with a hope he never thought would stir again. As he emerged into the muted glow, his heart raced with a wildfire of emotions. But what lay before him made his stomach churn. The doll sat, now eerily still, casting a shadow that stretched and twisted at impossible angles, as if it were trying to climb out of the floor itself. "What is this place?" Marcus whispered, scanning the room that now felt less like a playroom and more like a prison of lost souls. A sudden gust tore through, sending a bone-chilling shiver across his spine. The shadows swirled, and the voices returned, louder now, desperate and pleading. "Free us!" An unsettling realization gripped him. Those voices belonged to the children trapped within the doll. The weight of their sorrow hung in the air, heavy and tangible. "What do you want me to do?" he demanded, confusion and anger boiling inside him. He knew he had to act, to save Lily before it was too late. And then the doll's eyes flared to life once more, sending tendrils of fear snake crawling up his spine. What was it going to demand of him? With every heartbeat echoing in his ears, the question loomed larger: could he truly confront the horror he had unwittingly unleashed? The answer hung like a noose around his neck, teetering on a knife's edge. As the shadows surrounded him, Marcus whispered into the rising storm, "I want to let you take her." But the meaning of his vow echoed back, tainted with doubt. As the screams swelled around him, Marcus knew the clock was ticking. It was time to face whatever revelation awaited him on the other side of this darkness. What terrible price would he have to pay to save his daughter? The atmosphere thickened, suffocating him with despair as he faced the doll, its eyes glowing like twin suns bursting with anguish. The truth of the torment lay heavy at his feet, and Marcus steeled himself against the wave of spiritual decay flooding the air. Shadows curled menacingly around him, whispering secrets that clawed at his sanity. "Lily," he screamed, fighting back the chilling doubt that skittered through his mind. "Where are you?" The doll's mouth twisted in an unnatural smile that sent shards of ice racing up his spine. It was no longer a mere object, it had become a puppet master, and he was its plaything. The laughter of children twisted into wails, souls pleading for freedom. He staggered back, heart pounding, as the shadows morphed into flickering images, snippets of lives trapped in torment, faces of lost children begging for salvation. He couldn't let that happen to Lily. "I'll save you. Just hold on." His voice cracked with urgency, breaking through the morass of fear that threatened to drown him. A figure materialized through the haze, Rosa's face pale and drawn, eyes wide with urgency. "Marcus!" she cried, her voice straining against the cacophony around them. "You have to fight it. Don't let it take her." "What do I do?" he shouted back, his heart racing as he trembled in its hold. "Look for the light. The doll feeds on fear and sorrow. Its power only grows if you fear for her. Rosa pressed forward, reaching through the haze. You need to find the strength you buried. You need to see past the shadows. Marcus shook his head, panic clawing at his chest. What strength? I can't lose her. Just then, another surge of energy pulsed through the room. The doll-esque grip tightened on his daughter, her figure shifting in the darkness, the glow of her innocence fighting the dread that engulfed it. He could almost see her, a shimmering light amidst the chaos, a lighthouse, hidden but never extinguished. Lily! He cried again, this time the word was a lifeline. He stepped closer, his heart screaming against the fear. I'm here. I'll always be here. Marcus concentrated on that tiny glow pulsing inside the void. A warmth radiated from the depths of his being, stirring the hope he thought extinguished. Memorable afternoons became vivid, their laughter, game nights, her first steps, it surged through him. Each precious memory struck like a hammer against the darkness, causing the shadows to recoil. Fight, Lily. He urged. Fight with me. The lights blinked, pulsing with newfound hope as he felt the darkness swell in response. For every ounce of fear he steered away, it pulled back, quaking as if haunted by the brightness of love. The doll began to vibrate, its laughter warping into frantic cries of rage. As the shadows clamored louder, he pressed on, forcing his will through the fear. You don't own us. He shouted, voice steady and fierce. I choose love over your darkness. In a brilliant flash, the darkness ripped apart, revealing a shattered reflection of the doll, 1,000 shards bellied its cursed power. But with each piece breaking free, the toll began to rise. Marcus felt heavy, weighed down with energy. Would he have to pay a price far greater than he ever realized? The room trembled as the doll let out a shriek, louder than thunder, and in that moment, he knew it was no longer just a doll. It was a vessel of pure anguish, and if he wanted to save Lily, he needed to destroy it completely. As the doll writhed, its hold on Lily wavered. But fear gripped him again. What if he failed? What if he lost her forever in the chaos? Marcus! Rosa's voice pulled him from the edge of despair. You can do this. You're stronger than it. One last surge of courage stabbed through him. He felt, for a fleeting moment, the weight of every single parent who had fought for their child, the love that cut through darkness. With shaking hands, he reached for the doll, less with the intent to destroy, and more with the hope that they could set the other children free. The moment his fingers brushed it, everything around him shattered into dazzling pieces, engulfing him in unbearable light, and an unnatural silence filled the air. What price would he truly have to pay to save them all? The world around him exploded in brilliance, blinding and deafening. It felt like being launched into a void, yet Marcus was strangely weightless, suspended between dimensions as time ceased to flow. The light enveloped him, but oddly enough, it didn't blind him, it illuminated the corners of his mind he hadn't accessed in years. In this ethereal space, images flickered. Memories of laughter that echoed like bells danced before him. He saw himself holding a chubby toddler, her laughter spilling into the air as they tumbled onto a soft lawn. He felt the warmth of a summer evening when they had eaten ice cream together, the sticky sweetness coating their hands, how she had insisted on sharing the drips. Lily, he whispered, feeling a deep ache in his chest, but then, shadows began creeping in, twisting the memories into dark shapes. The laughter faded, morphed into cries of anguish. Faces of lost children appeared, eyes wide with despair, their images cracking like shattered glass. Their ghostly whispers clawed at him, begging for release, for justice, for an end to their suffering. Not again. Not while I breathe. Marcus screamed, pushing against the momentum of darkness. He couldn't afford to lose sight of Lily. Suddenly, a streak of crimson cut through blood-red anger that dashed against the hollowness. He was back in the room, the doll writhing in front of him, taking form amidst a pool of darkness. Every piece he had felt break free now hummed around him like a storm threatening to boil over. Destroy it. Now. Rosa's voice rang in his ears, reminding him of what was at stake. He focused on the thing that had tormented them both, its face twisted with cruelty, eyes reflecting his own desperation, as if mocking his attempts. It's just a thing, Marcus repeated, over and over, shaking off the potent dread. It has no power. Only what I give it. He grounded himself with thoughts of love, fierce and striking. Swift images of his daughter's radiant smile spurred him forward, her warmth, the sweet smell of her hair after a long day playing outside. The darkness crackled around him, but no tendril dared touch his heart. With a renewed sense of purpose, he thrust his hands into the essence of the doll, feeling a violent tug at his core as if it were a black hole threatening to consume him. Every noise clamored in a disarray, the shadows screamed louder, the images of the lost children shifting like a cyclone of despair. Step back, Marcus. Rosa shouted, but he held his ground. He could feel a torrent of energy surging from the depths of his mourning, the pain of losses not yet confronted. He understood now this was not just about Lily, it was about every child who had suffered. He had the power to break the cycle. Release them. He roared, light spilled from his fingertips as he unleashed the raw emotions he had guarded so tightly. The beams shot out, illuminating the darkness. With each pulse, the doll shrieked, a cacophony intertwining fury and fear, desperation clawing at its very being. Once again, it began to shatter, the glimmers of hope catching every reflection, every shard radiating with the memories of joy, safety, and innocence. But the more it fractures, the heavier Marcus felt, as if a colossal weight bore down upon his soul. Then, an unexpected silence engulfed him, freezing the moment. He felt trapped, caught between worlds, as if he was teetering on the precipice of an abyss. What will it take? He murmured, voice shaky. The pain constricted around him like a vice. Would this sacrifice strip him of the essence of his love? And in that gut-wrenching moment of doubt, a shimmer of Lily's laughter wove through the air. It was light as a feather but solid as his resolve, and with that, a flicker of hope ignited within him. But just as he was about to seize that light, the relentless shadows surged forward, attempting to reclaim the moment. Marcus! Rosa cried, panic rippling in her voice. You can't let it win. This was it, the final act, the last thread of resistance. With everything he had, he pushed against the boundaries, battling against the consuming dread. A confrontation promised to become a defining moment. Would he rise, or would all be consumed by the darkness? The answer hung precariously in the air. Would his fight be strong enough to turn the tide? He took a deep breath, his heart hammering. The moment had come. The intensity of the silence shattered with an ear-piercing shriek, the doll's form flickering as the light pulsed from Marcus. Shadows danced chaotically, an explosive swirl around him. He felt the air twist and tighten, binding his limbs, but he pressed on, heart racing. Feel it. He urged himself, the warmth of hope battling against the encroaching ice of despair. It's just a doll. Just a doll. Yet each word felt flimsy against the tides of darkness pouring forth, tearing at his memories, at the smiles he adored. Rosa's voice cut through the madness again. Concentrate. You are the light. It can't break you. Her faith drummed in his ears, a lifeline tethering him to his purpose. He envisioned the children's faces, heard their cries reaching into the depths of his heart, fueling his drive. Sweat beaded on his forehead, chilling against his skin as he poured everything into overcoming the void. The doll trembled violently, shards of its brutal visage emerging from the cracks, revealing deeper horrors buried within it. Marcus felt the weight of every child lost pressing onto his shoulders. The shadows shrieked louder, a symphony of torment mixed with the sweet sound of Lily's laughter echoing like a siren's call in the distance, teasing him with possibility. No! He shouted, voice strong, defiance ringing true. I won't let you take this from me. In that instant, images flickered, more intense than before. Moments of joy, remnants of cherished memories flooded back. He envisioned Lily's tiny hands wrapped around his fingers, her first step so tentative but filled with determination. Every heartbeat added energy to the battle, light spilling from him as he reached deeper into the chasm of pain within himself. The doll's form twisted and buckled as if the very essence of it was being unraveled. Marcus could taste the metallic tang of fear in his mouth, yet he held on to the sliver of hope, breathing it like oxygen. Now! Rosa urged, her own light glistening in pools around him, vibrant and fierce. He felt her courage, a flavor like sun-warmed honey spreading through his spirit. Together, they were weapons against the ever-hungry void. With renewed urgency, he thrust both hands forward, releasing all the pain, the regrets, the memories he had walled off. Brilliant light exploded from his touch, enveloping the doll as it writhed, desperately squirming against the illumination. Black tendrils hissed at the edges, trying to reclaim their lost ground but faltering under the radiant assault. "Break free!" Marcus roared, pouring his will into an offering of salvation. The very ground beneath shook, he could almost hear the echoes of past lives being reborn with each heartbeat. Suddenly, the doll's mouth twisted wide in a silent scream, drawing in a breath that felt like a whirlpool pulling everything down into itself. Shadows clawed fervently but were outmatched, retreating like a tide drawing away from a breaking dawn. In one seismic crack of light, the doll's shattered fragments bursting forward, revealing a myriad of memories entangled in the threads. For a split second, Marcus was lost in a kaleidoscope of emotions until an explosion of sound enveloped him, a cacophony of laughter and cries, echoing everything that had been lost and everything he fought for, but just as quickly as the moment came, it vanished, leaving behind an empty void. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. Then, alarming clarity surged through, breaking the silence, an inexplicable whisper sweeping through the remnants. "I'm still here, Lily." He breathed, hope fluttering in his chest, but doubt clawed back at him. Was the fight really over? Had he saved her, or had he merely opened a new door? An ominous chill filled the space. As his heart fluttered, he glanced around, hair prickling on the back of his neck. What had he unleashed? Suddenly, the listless shadows slithered back, thicker and meaner, forming a new entity, something dark and vast pulsing in the periphery of his vision. "Marcus!" Rosa shouted, a warning in her voice too late. The air electrified, and the battle was far from over as another veil lifted, opening to a reality shrouded in even deeper darkness. Just when he thought he had broken the cycle, something far more sinister loomed ahead. Is this just the beginning? He wondered, dread pooling in his stomach. The clock was ticking, and they were running out of time. Would they survive the revelations to come? The shadows condensed, melding into a form more grotesque than the doll they just battled. It loomed, a twisted caricature of childhood innocence corrupted by malevolence. Marcus's breath quickened. This was no ordinary foe. A pulse of dread coursed through him, the unmistakable chill creeping back into his bones. "Stay with me." Rosa's voice sliced through the fear, invigorating him once more. The darkness snarled, a whispering menagerie that slithered in his thoughts, taunting him with every regret he thought he had overcome. What was this monster, but a representation of everything he feared? "Fight it!" he shouted, unwilling to back down. "You're not real." But it felt real, the weight of despair settled like concrete in his chest. The shape flickered, and with every beat of his heart, it shifted, revealing fleeting glimpses of lost moments with Lily, a playful giggle, her tiny figure running on the beach, the sparkle in her eyes as she spun around, trusting and carefree. "Let it go," Rosa urged from somewhere behind him, her light pulsing, but it began to dim. He turned to check on her, and for the briefest moment, the shadows hesitated, a fine sheen of vulnerability appearing. "Rosa, we can do this together," he yelled, returning his focus to the specter before them, rallying power from the fierce love swelling in his heart. But the entity twisted with anguished wails, its form fluctuating between the visage of a somber child and something monstrous, an abomination bred from grief and loss. It clawed at his mind, shoving memories of all the children they'd failed to protect into his consciousness. They flashed like a slideshow gone haywire. Darkness enveloped him, a collapsing tunnel. He felt the weight of guilt bearing down, suffocating him. Voices murmured, shadows crawled, reaching for him. Dad! A voice, soft yet so real. It pierced through the madness. Lily! His heart soared, for the merest flicker of hope blazed brighter at the sound. Help me! A tremor rippled through him, a plea tangled in sorrow, pulling at his insides. Hold on, I'm coming. He cried out, the resolve hardening his stance. He seized the connection, channeling everything into the light he had. The shadows recoiled as if burned. The engulfing presence screamed, a sound that echoed through the dimensions of their shared pain. You cannot save her. You're too late. No. He felt the roar ripple through him, carrying his newfound determination. I will not give up. Together, they surged, their united light clashing against the darkness, illuminating the twisted figures morphing in agony. It felt like a clash of worlds, the air thickening as their combined strength broke through layers of despair, cascading every ounce of anguish away. Suddenly, the entity shrieked, a wild, wrenching sound, as if the very fabric of night was tearing apart. From the center of its chaotic form emerged a luminous figure, slowly materializing, a silhouette both familiar yet distant. Lily? He whispered, his heart thumping erratically. Was this really happening? Was the battle forging a path for his lost daughter to return, or was it merely an illusion, another dagger aimed at his heart? What if it's a trick? Rosa called, her voice strained, but resolute. Don't fall for it. As the figure approached, brightly glowing amidst the swirling shadows, Marcus's hopes buoyed against the dread. Trust and love, the figure's voice, sweet like sunshine, spilled warmth into the cold night. But before he could reach out, the shadows surged again, threatening to consume both the illusion and his reality. The dark essence writhed around him, clawing at his consciousness, dragging him back into despair's grasp. Marcus! Rosa screamed, desperation slicing through her tone. In a split second, he faced an impossible choice: allow despair to pull him under or forge ahead, risking everything, his heart dangling on the edge. Lily! He shouted, extending his hand towards her shimmering form, heart pounding with the weight of uncertainty. Would he dare plunge into this depth of light, or would he be forever swallowed by shadow? The answer was an enveloping fog as the nameless terror loomed closer, eager to reclaim its power over him. What would he choose in that fleeting moment? Marcus stood at the precipice of despair and hope, fingers stretching towards the light. The moment hung heavy, a world balancing on whispers of faith. Don't do it. Rosa's voice echoed, full of urgency but threaded with fear. But Lily's form glimmered brighter, each heartbeat radiating warmth. He felt the magnetic pull of her presence, a bond so strong it shook his very core. Lily! He yelled, and in that breath, he leaped. As his fingers met the light, a surge of energy coursed through him. It felt like diving into the ocean after a lifetime on dry land, exhilarating, yet terrifying. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage, clawing at his ankles, hungry for his surrender. But the warmth enveloped him, wrapping him like a protective blanket. Light exploded around him, blinding and pure. Memories flashed, every laugh, every hug, every moment spent with his little girl flooded his mind. Fighting with every bit of himself, he grasped onto the love that defined him, refusing to let the shadows engulf what he held dear. Lily! He bellowed again, voice commanding the darkness, declaring a war that felt lost. The shadows quivered, flickering as if uncertain of their power. From that dazzling light emerged a figure, not just Lily, but a community banded together, faces of children they fought for, each one a flicker of love and hope. What is happening? Rosa gasped, awed and bewildered. The children. Marcus gasped, realization igniting in his chest. They're here. Together, they united, a radiant tapestry of light woven from threads of joy and laughter. It pushed back against the darkness, forming a wall of resilience. With every pair of small hands lifted, the shadows quailed under the weight of hope. "Feel it!" he cried to Rosa and the glowing figures. "We can't let it take us." The darkness howled in frustration, yet every scream dissipated as it met the surge of love and unity. Each pulse of light pushed their fears back, each roar of joy breaking the chains that held them. Yet just as victory seemed within grasp, the grotesque entity twisted violently, shifting into something even darker. A massive shadow clawed its way to the forefront, its eyes burning with malevolence. "I am deep-seated despair. I feed on your failures," it shrieked, its voice slithering into their minds. "You cannot defeat me. I am every fear you've ever known." "Not today," Marcus roared back, clenching his fists. "You don't own us." But doubt crept in at the edge of his resolve. Was it truly possible to banish something so rooted in their existence? Suddenly, the darkness lurched, swinging close, tendrils reaching out for him like a sinister hand. Panic surged within him. "Lily!" he shouted, fear tightening his throat as the night expanded, and with it, the weight of their failures became nearly unbearable. In the chaos, the children's luminescent forms hummed, a heartbeat harmonizing with theirs, and he could feel their courage. It sparked something fierce and unyielding within him. "Together. We can do this together," he urged, feeling Rosa's hand grip his arm, firm and steady, grounding him. They formed a circle, each person holding on to the one next to them, light pouring from their connected forms, rippling through layers of shadows. The entity's rage amplified, a blinding tempest of darkness aimed to shatter their fragile unity. But they stood, resolute and unwavering, stretching their light against the overwhelming mass. "What awaits us at the heart of this nightmare, Marcus? Where does our light lead?" Rosa's question loomed heavy as the darkness swirled battering against their collective purpose, and in that moment, he felt it, the dawn beyond the horizon, just waiting to break. "Follow me," he yelled, his heart racing, pushing forward against the tide. Would they chase the light and uncover the truth, or would they falter, letting the shadows reclaim their fate? The shadows twisted and churned like a tempest, clawing at Marcus and his fragile army of light. But with each surge of their collective hope, they pushed back against the relentless darkness that threatened to envelope them, their intertwined hands a testament to unwavering faith. "Together!" Marcus shouted, his voice a clarion call amidst the chaos. Rallying the children and Rosa, he focused on the warmth radiating from their touch, the sweetness of innocence and love binding them in solidarity. "We are stronger than this darkness. We will not bear it any longer." Suddenly, the darkness lunged, a colossal wave of hate crashing against their unity. But as it approached, the flickering figures of the lost children pulsed with renewed vigor, glowing brighter and more fiercely with each laugh echoed, each memory rekindled. The collective strength infused them, and the shadows reeled back, shocked by the power of their innocence, and then, like a lighthouse cutting through a foggy storm, the answer came to Marcus. The doll. He had to destroy the source of the curse. It had lingered behind the veil of shadows, feeding on despair, drawing power from every tear shed and every soul forgotten. "We need the doll's remnants to free them." With urgency surging in his veins, he pulled Rosa closer, their determination giving life to his every step. "We have to find its remnants. It may be the key to shattering this nightmare." The glow illuminated their path, casting a golden hue in stark contrast to the looming darkness. "Lily!" he called out, his voice unwavering. "Where are you? Look! Daddy!" Her small but mighty voice chimed, piercing the chaos. As the shadows contorted, a glimmer shimmered in the dimness ahead, a raw shimmer radiating from where the doll had once been. "Over there. Let us go." Marcus felt a spark of hope ignite inside his heart. With his hand firmly clasped around Rosa's and the radiant spirit of the children behind him, they plunged through the thick darkness. Each step forward was met with resistance, each inch a battle, but the closer they got to the glowing remains, the more invigorated they became. "No! You cannot!" The foreboding voice of the fallen doll echoed through the shadows, shrill and furious. "I will consume you all. Not today." Rosa cried back defiantly, her eyes gleaming with conviction. They pressed on, hands linked, the light growing brighter, radiating warmth that pushed against the icy grip of despair. As they reached the heart of the nightmarish shadows, they saw remnants of the doll. Fragments of its once horrifying visage lay scattered around them. "This is it!" Marcus gasped, a surge of impending dread coiling in his chest. "Let us destroy it together." They formed a circle, the children joining hands and echoing encouragement, and Rosa and Marcus focused their intentions on the remnants. "To love, to laughter," Marcus yelled. "To every moment we treasure." And as one, they unleashed every ounce of light in their being, pouring love, memory, and warmth into the shattered pieces of the doll. Light exploded in a breathtaking cascade, a radiant phoenix bursting forth from a cocoon of shadows. The remnants of the doll began to tremble, fractures spreading as if the light could crack open an abyss that had held too many souls captive for too long. The shadows let out a deafening cry of anguish, swirling in a desperate attempt to hold on. Marcus felt the weight of every soul previously lost bearing down on them, yet the power of their light surged more fiercely. "Together! We can free them!" he bellowed, pulling the energy from every joyful moment he shared with Lily, every hug, every kiss on her forehead, forging them into a weapon against the darkness. As they flooded the remnants with light, the darkness faltered, shrinking back from the brilliance they produced. "My precious children!" The voice roared in despair, twisting in horror as the last pieces of the doll dissolved in a radiant flash. And just like that, the shadows began to recede, their ghastly forms breaking apart into wisps of smoke, drifting into the ether. The air transformed, clearing as light filled the room, washing over Marcus like a warm embrace. Panting, eyes wide with raw emotion, Marcus searched for Lily. "Lily?" His voice trembled. Then, from the brilliance of light, a figure emerged, small yet glorious, her hair bouncing with every step. "Daddy!" Lily shouted, joy radiating from her eyes, her arms outstretched. "Lily!" Tears filled Marcus's eyes as he swept his daughter into his arms, an overwhelming flood of relief washing over him. "You're safe. You're really safe. Daddy. We did it." She bubbled over, laughter spilling like music. "The mean doll is gone." In that moment, as they locked eyes, the horrors of the night faded away, and comfort took its place. The weight of dread began to lift, replaced with the sweet sound of laughter, a sound that didn't just resonate from Lily, but from every spirit they had liberated. Across the room, Rosa watched, tears shimmering in her eyes. "You did it, Marcus. You freed them all." Breathless, overwhelmed by gratitude, Marcus dropped to one knee, holding Lily tightly. "No, Rosa, we did this together," he asserted, wiping his tears away. "All of us together beat back the darkness. I couldn't have done it without you." And as they embraced in that light-filled room, the laughter of children echoed around them, healed, free, finally unbound from the shackles of despair. As they stepped outside into the cool night, the stars twinkling above, life began anew. The mansion, once a fortress of secrets, felt vibrant and alive. The world outside now felt like a canvas of possibilities, waiting for them to paint memories anew. Rosa glanced up at the starry sky, her heart lightening. "This is just the beginning," she smiled, looking at Marcus and Lily. "Yes," he replied, embracing the warmth of life after darkness. "No more secrets. No more shadows." With laughter echoing in their hearts, they stepped forward, hand in hand, welcoming the dawn of the next chapter of their lives, untethered and free. But don't let this moment pass you by. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm. Flood the comments section with all your reactions and theories about this ending. And I mean it, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is your moment to show your love and support. Don't wait even one more second.